Mali's explosive growth, how a nation is defying the world and rewriting its own destiny. Mali was supposed to fail. That's what the world told us. For decades, this West African nation was painted as the ultimate failed state, a land crippled by terrorism, poverty, coups, and foreign meddling. The experts said Mali could never stand on its own. They said without France, without the West, without foreign aid, Mali would collapse. But today Mali is proving them all wrong. Against every prediction, Mali is experiencing an explosive rise militarily, economically, politically, and culturally. Not quiet, IMF-approved growth. Not handouts from the West. But bold, defiant, messy, unstoppable growth on Mali's terms. This is not just a story about Mali. This is a story about Africa breaking chains, about nations rewriting their destiny, about the world's balance of power shifting right before our eyes. And make no mistake, the shockwaves from Mali's rise are being felt across the globe. So how did a country once dismissed as hopeless turn into the loudest voice of defiance in Africa? Let's break it down. From French proxy to Sahel powerhouse. The turning point came in 2022, when Mali expelled French forces. For almost a decade, France had operated Operation Barkhane and other missions, supposedly fighting jihadists across the Sahel. But for Malians, French presence became a symbol of humiliation, foreign troops on their soil, foreign powers calling the shots, while terrorism and instability actually grew worse. When the French were finally kicked out, the world said, "This is it. Mali is finished." But the opposite happened. Mali didn't collapse. Mali mobilized. Enter Russia. The Wagner Group and other contractors arrived, bringing not just manpower but advanced equipment, drones, and ruthless counter-terror tactics. For the first time in years, jihadist strongholds that had terrorized villages began to fall. But it wasn't just about Russia. Mali's own army transformed. Once a small, under-trained force, the Malian military swelled in size and confidence. Soldiers no longer waited for Western intelligence, they began leading their own operations. Victories piled up. Morale surged. And then came the game changer, the Alliance of Sahel States, (AES), a defense pact with Burkina Faso and Niger. The message was clear: an attack on one is an attack on all. Overnight, Mali wasn't standing alone anymore. It was part of a new Sahel bloc with teeth. From being a French proxy, Mali had become a regional powerhouse, taking back the keys to the vault. But military power was just the first spark. The real explosion came when Mali turned to its economy. Mali is Africa's third-largest gold producer. Yet for decades, Malians saw almost none of that wealth. Foreign corporations and Western partners controlled the mines, siphoning billions of dollars abroad, leaving Mali with scraps. Not anymore. The new Malian government began cancelling contracts, renegotiating deals, and nationalizing resources. The message to foreign mining giants was blunt: if you want Mali's gold, you'll pay Mali's price or you'll leave. This was shocking to the old order. For years, resource-rich African nations were trapped in contracts signed under pressure, giving away their wealth for pennies. Mali tore up that script. Billions in revenue that once flowed to Paris, London, and Toronto are now being redirected into Malian infrastructure, schools, and hospitals. And then the most daring move of all, the gold-backed currency plan. Together with its AES partners, Mali announced plans to ditch the French-controlled CFA franc and launch a new currency backed by gold. Think about that. For decades, African economies have been tied to the CFA franc, a colonial-era system where monetary policy is dictated in Paris. By building a gold-backed currency, Mali and its partners aim to shatter neo-colonial chains and take control of their own financial destiny. It's bold. It's risky. And it could transform not just Mali, but the entire Sahel and maybe even Africa. Political explosion, sovereignty above all. At the heart of Mali's explosive growth is one word: sovereignty. Colonel Assimi Goïta, the transitional president, has made it crystal clear, Mali's interests come first. Period. That means defying ECOWAS sanctions, walking out of regional summits dominated by Western influence, and refusing to be lectured by foreign governments. When Mali skipped ECOWAS meetings, critics called it reckless. But for Malians, it was a powerful statement: we don't need to sit at your table if the table is rigged. And the people responded. Across Mali, crowds gathered waving flags, chanting Goita's name, demanding independence from foreign dictates. For the first time in decades, Malians felt like their government was truly speaking for them. But it goes deeper. This isn't just about politics, it's about identity. A cultural rebirth is underway. Schools are promoting national languages, not just French. History is being retold from a Malian perspective, not a colonial one. A wave of pride is sweeping through the nation, pride in being Malian, in being African, in being sovereign. Social and infrastructural growth. Explosive growth isn't only about military victories or political statements, it's about changing daily life. And that's starting to happen. With mining revenues staying in Mali, the government is channeling funds into hospitals, schools, and roads. Villages long cut off by conflict are beginning to see electricity, clean water, and new opportunities. The military's successes mean new territories are being secured, making it possible for development projects to actually take root. A road that once was too dangerous to travel can now connect farmers to markets. A school that once sat empty due to insecurity can now reopen its doors. It's early. It's fragile. But for Malians who lived for decades under instability, even small signs of progress feel revolutionary. The world reacts. Of course, this kind of defiance doesn't happen in a vacuum. The old powers are watching. France is furious, its influence slipping not just in Mali but across the entire Sahel. ECOWAS has struggled to pressure Mali back into line, but sanctions only fueled Mali's nationalist fire. The US and Europe are wary, watching as Russia gains a foothold. Meanwhile, new partners are stepping in. Russia, China, Turkey, they see opportunity in Mali's defiance. They offer investment without lectures, trade without conditions. To the West, this looks dangerous. To Mali, it looks like freedom. The big question is, can Mali survive the pressure? Can it sustain this explosive growth without triggering devastating backlash? History tells us old empires don't let go easily. And Mali is daring to challenge centuries of control. The bottom line: a different kind of growth. Let's be clear. Mali's growth isn't the kind that shows up neatly in World Bank reports. It's not the slow, steady GDP curve that economists love. It's explosive. It's unpredictable. It's messy. Please like and subscribe. But it's real. Mali is growing in ways that matter. Military autonomy. Economic control. Political sovereignty. National pride. This is what explosive growth looks like when a nation decides to stop asking for permission. The world may call it reckless. The old powers may try to punish it. But for Mali, this is destiny reclaimed, redefined, rewritten. So the question remains: will Mali's explosive growth lead to lasting independence and prosperity, or will it ignite a backlash that threatens everything? One thing is certain: Mali is no longer playing by the old rules. And whether the world likes it or not, the rise of Mali is a story that cannot be ignored. Because Mali isn't just growing, it's exploding. And the shockwaves are only beginning.